Hi, everybody. My name is Jacque. I am here tonight with Doxa and super excited to be in Colorado. I was telling one of you lovely people earlier that this is the first time in 134 years of history of Doxa that we've lived in Colorado, thanks to Right Time. And tonight, back on the tables, you'll see the most Doxa watches that have ever been in Colorado in 134 years of the company's history. So I could talk about Doxa all night long. So any questions you guys have, you want to pick my brain, you want to know more about collections, let me know. But I'll share some of my favorite details about Doxa with you and try to keep it short, sweet, and simple. So the company started, as I said, 134 years ago in 1889 by a gentleman named George Ducommun. He started watchmaking when he was 12 years old. And as he came down from the mountains every winter and sold his watches in Switzerland, every year more and more watch brands started to fight over his complications. So he started to realize he was onto something. And at 19 years old, he started Doxa. He created his own factory, put in his own complications. And at that time, he was making more like pocket watches. We've always made military watches. So from the early 1900s, especially as we went into World War I, he was making pilot watches and military watches for all different countries. But one of my favorite Doxa facts, and it's kind of fitting to give this one here, I can do a little game and we'll give a little prize if anyone can get this answer right. So in 1907, Doxa became the first official car clock of a high-end car brand. Does anyone want to take a guess at which one? We were the first official car clock in 1907.
Mercedes. Stutz. Rolls-Royce. Talbot. Porsche. Cadillac. Bentley. Rolls-Royce. Doozy. Bugatti.
But you know that one, Zach. You already know that. That's not fair. Okay, so it was Bugatti. Oh, you didn't? I thought we talked about this in Vegas. Okay, I'll still get you a piece of swag. So yes, in 1907, we were the first official car clock of Bugatti. Although someone did say Mercedes, we were in all the first models of Mercedes, Peugeot, and a few other European car brands that still exist to this day. So what I love about that fact is that it's bringing Doxa to cars, which is one of my favorite things. And also we're in a car museum. But also it just tells you about the standard of a Doxa that we've always maintained. So Mr. Ducommun passed away in 1936, and Ulysse Nardon's grandson, Jacque Nardon, took over Doxa. And he's the one that started taking us to the ocean, and obviously we've never gone backwards. In 1964, Jacques Cousteau joined our research and development team. So the whole idea was he wanted to make the safest dive watch in the world, which is why Doxa is synonymous with safety in diving. As we move through the 60s, Mr. Clive Cussler was at home typing away on a typewriter, driving his wife absolutely nuts. And after a couple years of this, she was like, "You're never going to make money off of books. You need to get a real job." And she made him go get a job at the local dive shop. So Clive spent about 5 years at this dive shop, and apparently he was an amazing marketeer. And in his 5 years at this dive shop, the gentleman's company grew about 5 times. He opened several new stores. And after 5 years, Clive decided that it was time to go back to his real love, which was writing books. And when he, what I like to call, retired from that job, the owner of the dive shop actually gave him a 300T Professional, which is what we call our orange Pantone, Doxa watch. So that is why Clive Cussler has such an emotional attachment to that watch and started including the Doxa 300T Professional on Dirk Pitt, which was his main character of all of his books, in his books. And as the relationship continued, obviously we did special editions with him, including one that we have in the back now that has all 81 of the shipwrecks that Clive and the Numa Foundation have found. And it's kind of my big spiel. It's kind of the top history moments. Is there any questions that anyone has, or any other parts of the history that someone would like to know?
Does Doxa make anything other than dive watches?
No. So after the 1960s, we became very serious about diving. We only stay in the ocean. If you notice, almost all of the shapes are the same since the 60s, that cushion shape. There's only one exception. The 600T is based on a 1980s watch that we did. It's a little more boxy. but the current CEO does not ever want to move away from the ocean. We will not do pilots or anything for racing, etc.
What's the Doxa Jenny Synchron?
Yeah, great question. So the Yenny family is the fourth family to own Doxa, so it is still family owned. It has only been a family owned brand. So if you'll notice on the watches in the back on the crown, there's going to be a little fish. And in the fish, there's a J because it's spelt like Jenny, but they say the last name's pronounced Yenny. So that's what that has to do with. They bought the company in 1997, and they made that little kind of secondary logo so that for all of time, when someone has a Doxa in the future, you know that it came from their era and their family.
Where did the name come from?
Doxa, great question. So Mr. Ducommun named it Doxa, and it's actually a Greek word meaning glory.